Hey guys, it's Danielle and today is Marriage Monday. So we are going to do a marriage chat today and be chatting it up. I'm in my closet because this was the only place that I could get a tiny bit of quiet for just a second to chat with you guys. So if you guys are new here, hi, my name is Danielle and I am the non-traditional mommy. I am married to my wonderful husband. It will be how many years? 14 years this year. We have 11 children together and we also run a business together. So welcome to my non-traditional family. On this channel, I talk about an array of different things. I don't have a niche per se. I like to live my life outside of the box and thus run my YouTube outside of the box as well. So if you want to join my little family, hit the subscribe button and join along. For the rest of my non-traditional family, you guys already know you're the MVPs and I love you bunches. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. Alrighty, so let's jump into this week's marriage chat. So last week we talked about who comes first, your spouse or your kids. And this week I wanted to piggyback off of that and talk about who comes first, you or your spouse. Do you put yourself before your spouse or do you put your spouse's needs before your needs? So you guys, this I feel is such a touchy kind of topic and situations in a lot of marriages on, do I put my needs first? Do I put my kids' needs first? Do I put my spouse's needs first? I think a lot of women, especially women, struggle with this particular thing. And so I'm going to tell you guys the only way to have a healthy marriage is to put yourself first, and not in a selfish way, not at all by any means am I talking about in the traditional selfish me way, but in the sense that you have to respect yourself first and foremost. You have to love yourself first and foremost, and you have to make sure that your needs physically, emotionally, mentally are being met first in order to be a good wife, in the sense of what it means to be a good wife. You have to make sure all of those things are in order and in place in order to be healthy in a marriage. You can't come to a marriage as a half person and expect this person to then make you whole. You have to come as a whole person. And in order to be a whole person, you had to be able, and in the past been putting yourself first, and continue to do that. And I hope that that makes sense. So an example of that would be having designated time built into your day that is strictly for you, for yourself, rather that is in the morning or at night or in the middle of the day, where however you can get that in, but just some time where you can refuel yourself. You know, in the morning you may take a few minutes to meditate, or take a few minutes to just really savor your cup of coffee, or you may pray in the morning or journal or whatever it is, or at night you may take a bath and have that time where it's just your time to relax and go all out and have a spa bath. In the middle of the day you may go and indulge in lunch for yourself. Whatever that may look like, you always want to have some designated time just for yourself. And putting yourself first means saying no to anything else during your designated me time. So feeling okay and being okay with saying, no, I cannot do that, or I will not do that. This is my designated me time. And so that is so important, because by having that time to refuel yourself and replenish yourself, then you're able to go out and then meet the needs of your husband and your kids and everybody else in the world that may have demands on you. Let me know if that makes sense, you guys, and let me know what you think about that as well. So another example of putting yourself first or putting your needs first is having boundaries. You have a set ground rules or set boundaries that just cannot be altered or crossed. And these are things that you would have already may have come up with before you entered into a marriage. A lot of time what happens is people don't know what their boundaries are, or they know but they don't really express them, and then they get into a marriage and their partner begins to cross those boundaries or test those boundaries or push those boundaries. And because they allowed that to happen maybe in the beginning, or because they weren't really whole at first and didn't know what those boundaries were, all of a sudden this becomes an issue. And all of a sudden we are dealing with this major boundary issue. An example of that would be coming home late, or having to wait up for your spouse, and your spouse comes home late repeatedly and you're staying up late waiting for them to get home, and you realize that I have a boundary when it comes to this coming home late all the time, and I am not going to continue to allow my boundary to be pushed. Another example of that would be yelling. Some people are like, when we argue, I don't feel like you need to yell or raise your voice or talk disrespectful to me. That is a hard boundary for me. So making sure that you have these boundaries and that you are expressing them. And I did a whole marriage challenge on expressing expectations, and we'll talk about expectations in marriages and expressing those in another chat. But expressing that I have these boundaries in place, and being okay with knowing that you have these boundaries, and that's okay to have boundaries. So what your boundary may be may not be a boundary for somebody else, but having these boundaries and putting your boundaries in place and enforcing them. So that's another way that you can put yourself first in your marriage. Making sure that you're nourished. So many times women will go all day without eating. Everybody else in their house, kids, husband, everybody would have ate, and then they're like, wait, I didn't eat. So making sure that you are nourishing yourself, and if that means making your plate first and then your spouse's plate, because we talked about that, and you sitting down and eating your dinner, making your kids or however that looks in your house, and you taking the time to sit down and eat, then do that. For me in my house, because I have so many children, my boundary and me putting myself first is that I sit down to eat, and nobody can then ask for seconds or want to get more, want this or want that, until I have finished eating. It's like, I need to sit down, I need to eat, so everybody can wait until I'm done eating. And you all have your plates. I've made everybody, because I tend to make everybody's plate in my house, so I've made all your plates. You guys got your plate. I'm gonna sit down, and if you whiff your food down fast, you can't now be like, have seconds, because what ends up happening, for what I've learned for myself, is I would get up, make their seconds, and then sit down, and then by the time I'm able to finally eat my food, it's freezing cold. So that was one of those things that I put in place to make sure that I'm putting myself first. So just making sure that you're nourished and you're putting yourself first in that area is so important. Another thing is physical health, you guys. For a lot of moms, finding that time to work out or finding that time to do something active becomes really hard. And you guys, I am guilty of this, and I am preaching to myself in this particular category. But making sure that you put yourself first in that area, because we will oftentimes make sure that our kids are at this activity or at this sport, and that our spouses are going to the doctor, that they're staying healthy. And a lot of times we're not doing that for ourselves. So just making sure that in your marriage, in your relationship, that you are putting yourself first. And not, again guys, not in a selfish way where you're like, well, I'm gonna buy myself this first and then I'll pay that bill or whatever. You're not in that kind of way, or whatever, you know, selfishness looks like in those realms. But in a healthy way, where you're just making sure that you are taken care of and that your needs are being met, so that you can then be a healthy person in your relationship or in your marriage. So I hope that makes sense, you guys. Tell me what you think. So, and how, tell me some ways that you put yourself first in your relationship. Tell me some ways that you have set some boundaries to make sure that you're putting yourself first. What does that look like in your relationship, or in your life in general, rather you're married or not married? Because this stands true for moms who are single moms. It is so hard as a single mom to find ways to put yourself first. And I know that firsthand because I was a single mom with my oldest son until he was 7. And then I met my husband, and then my husband traveled for 2 years. I believe it was 2 years, may have been 3 years, in our marriage. And during that time, you guys, I felt like a single mom. I know I wasn't, but I felt that way. So I know as a single mom, it can be hard to put yourself first, or find ways to put yourself first. So let me know how you do that. What are some boundaries that you may have in place, and all of that good stuff. So that is our little chat for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this very short Monday marriage chat. Let me know if there's anything you guys would like to chat about. Feel free to leave it below, or send me a message on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, I will put it there, and go over and follow me there as well. Alrighty, you guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.